Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go get a loan tomorrow.
This is a story about a booming lane. Then one day he went and tried to rent them out, and then he became one with the man.
Hey, simple passive cash flow listeners. Today we have Mr. Accredited Investor Lee here. We're going to be going through his personal financial sheet, and hopefully, I would say a lot of you guys are in this situation, just on the verge of being accredited. So let me introduce the code name Lee here. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, so why don't you kind of give us the high level, kind of where you're at with life and what you've done up to this point, and a little bit of your day-to-day, what you do for work, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm an engineer for a general contractor in Hawaii, and I've been with them for about 20 years. I've been in the business about 35. So I started investing about 5 years ago. Started with gap funding for flipping houses here in Hawaii, and then I started going to the mainland because they had a little bit better profit.
So you kind of came to this a little bit later. I mean, you are normal investing 401k stock market for a decade or two. What pushed you to look elsewhere?
Well, I kind of started late in my retirement investment. So just looking at the time I wanted to retire and the amount of time I had now, I needed to accelerate my portfolio for my retirement. So I figured real estate investment might be a good idea to meet my retirement goals.
Yeah, being an engineer, you can kind of do the math. Math doesn't lie to what you end up with.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I was coming up short, so I figured I needed to find another way other than stocks and 401k to meet my retirement goals.
So you were mostly a passive investor doing private money lending to a bunch of local flippers. What were some of the rates you were getting there, and how did that go for you?
The local vendors, I would say like 10, 15%. 15% would be kind of lucky.
Yeah, was that a long time ago though? Right now, like cap rates are getting compressed now, so everyone's starving for deals. That's still the going rate.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was, I would say, about 5 years ago. So not that long, but it's getting harder. The margin is getting harder to get to 15%. 10% is kind of the norm. But even that, I think it's going even lower because of the profit ratio. So I went to the mainland. I went to this seminar and kind of bought in. And I did 3 deals. One, I made out maybe about 20, a little over 20% profit. Another one, I just broke even. And the third one, I lost everything.
What were you guys doing? Was the operation?
It was flipping houses.
Okay, remote.
All over the U.S., different cities.
I mean, I think you can make money doing it, but I mean, I live in Hawaii too. I'm actually got 3 rehabs in the progress right now, and I know I'm getting gouged in price, but I have no leverage being remote. I mean, I know people get an inspector to inspect the work part way, but I don't know. I think it's just a single point of failure and you're going to get screwed at some point.
Yeah, I noticed the key is you got to have a good contractor, a realtor, and like you say, an inspector. And some of these people that you deal with, they were all part of a group, but you don't really know them and their experience. So if they don't have a good contractor, it's like the first time they ever worked with them and they don't know the history and background. Like one of my deals, the contractor actually was doing shoddy work, so we had to let him go. Me being a passive investor, I didn't know who this contractor was or what its experience was. And fortunately, they found somebody else to finish up the job, and that's the one we broke even. We didn't make anything, but we didn't lose anything.
And I think one thing I noticed a lot of people just don't realize is flipping houses. If you're a private money lender, you have no upside. You're not an equity investor, just a debt investor. And even when you're doing your own burrs out of state, again, all these profits are all active income. And as I learned from very high net worth investors, the game is much a tax game as it is making money game. You're not getting into the depreciation there too.
Yeah, that's correct. You're absolutely right. The profit I make, I have a C Corp, and yeah, they tax you off of that profit. And so there's not much tax relief on that.
Yeah, I mean, whether you have an LLC or C Corp, it all flows down to yourself.
Yeah, and then when you take it out for your personal, then you get taxed again. So it gets kind of a double tax.
So, which might be fine if you're a broke guy, right? Making like 20, 40 grand a year, but you're not a broke guy. So I'm kind of digging into the personal financial sheet, and you guys are looking on the YouTube channel. We have this displayed on the screen. So if you guys want to go over there and check that out, a bunch of other coaching ones that we've done just like this. But I'm looking at cell G38. Your monthly salary is $9,000 a month. That's pretty good in Hawaii. Remember, I took like a 30% pay cut when I went from Seattle to Hawaii.
You did? Oh my goodness.
I don't know how people survive out here. But so that every dollar that you make private money lending or flipping a house gets taxed at a pretty high rate. I don't know exactly what it is, but like 20 to 30% there. So the way I break down this personal financial sheet, first thing I do is I look at this upper right-hand quadrant and I'm just kind of seeing where you are in terms of net worth. You're right under $1 million, so that's good. And then I'm trying to look at your income and expenses. This is sort of your monthly cash flow, right? And what I'm looking at is, as much as I praise the higher salary there, that doesn't matter because I talk to a lot of people that make 250 grand, 400 grand a year, yet they can barely save $10,000 a year, which is just like, it boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah, those San Franciscaners. Bunch of world changers up there. But anyway, it's this bottom left Q53 cell, which is the net cash flow per month. So you're able to put away probably about $30,000 a year. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, so I would put you in like the top, maybe 80% of my podcast listeners. I mean, I think the top 5-10% are the guys able to save 50 grand a year. But then, hey, this is doable, right? I mean, at this rate, you're able to buy one turnkey rental a year with a $30,000 down payment. But your net worth is high enough where I wouldn't really suggest buying single family home. Like I tell a lot of people, you don't want to be like me and buy 11 turnkey rentals. You're just going to realize you're just going to create another job for yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the management and the headache.
Right. So you've got a lot of your assets are sort of tied up in equity in your home. So let's kind of dig into that. Currently, your home is appraised at 525. Got an okay balance of 385.
Yeah, part of that was investing in these flips. So I was using my HELOC.
Oh, okay.
So part of that is coming back once I flip is completed. And right now I was doing some private lending to one of the associates I've been dealing with, and she just needed kind of like a bridge loan. So it was about 8 weeks. So it should be due in a couple of weeks. So that'll reduce that HELOC balance.
So first question I would ask is like, are you going to live in this house for a long time, you think? Is this kind of your forever home? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
If that's the case, you have some nice equity here. Maybe you might want to think about getting a new 30-year loan, especially before you retire, right? I mean, I think once you get fully invested, I don't know why you're even working, to be honest. But before you even quit, make sure you get that 30-year mortgage. So it's all fresh, so you drain the equity out of it.
Yeah, well, actually, the mortgage is paid off, so the only mortgage per se is a HELOC.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, you need to go get a loan tomorrow. No joke. I'm being very serious, actually. HELOCs are nice because it's not like you have to pay origination fees with that stuff. I tell people use it as a temporary, as you're trying to dabble in all these real estate investments and you're getting used to it. It's a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water. And I know in Hawaii, there's a lot of introductory HELOC teaser rates, which I have at rialoha.com/HELOC, a little spreadsheet and cheat sheet for that. But you're somebody who's already kind of drinking the Kool-Aid and you get this stuff. I'd say it's time to go and get after the whole thing. Because the problem with the HELOCs is they only give you up to 80% of the value.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's kind of like one of those Gatorade tickets where you're never getting at that bottom 20%.
But it's interest only versus a 30-year locked in with a principal and interest. So your monthly is higher than to get the HELOC, which is a lower interest only rate, and you can pay whatever you want on the principal.
Yeah, if you're kind of just dabbling and you haven't bought into the whole alternative investing thing, I think it's a good idea. But the fact that you get at that extra 20%, and I know what these banks do, this like switch and bait thing, where they sort of downgrade the appraisal value of your house so that it de-risks their side of the investment.
Yeah, I noticed that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, those tricky suckers, those guys. So really, there's probably about 30%, maybe even more, of the equity you're never getting at. So, hey, you're an engineer. Do the numbers for yourself. It's kind of up to you, but that'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
Let's see, going down here. So here are the HELOCs you had. Here you had an interest rate of 2.5%. I think that's a logical fallacy that most people will say, oh, that's a great interest rate. Why would you want to trade that in for 3.5% today? Sophisticated investors don't really look at interest rate. I mean, that's only 1%. I'm not losing sleep over that. What I would lose sleep over is what if the economy turns, right? And now all these teaser HELOC rates go away, and then worse, the equity's gone that you can't draw from the HELOC, because this is all fine and dandy now, but if you were to lose the equity, your HELOC goes away. Where if you would have locked in a 30-year loan, you got that cash.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you weren't going to live in that home for the next 10 years, I would say maybe the HELOC would be a better strategy. That's why I asked you if you're going to live in that home for a while. So what's this other condo here?
Oh, my sister and I own a condo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's worth about 380.
Yeah.
You guys owe what, only 50 grand left.
Yeah, that was part of the flip deal.
Yeah. So tell me about that relationship. Are you guys getting along?
Oh yeah, my sister and I get along really well, so she trusts me.
Okay. So does she invest in real estate too and do alternative investing, or is she more?
She's not really about.
Yeah, sounds like my family. Anyway.
Let's say I'm working on it.
Yeah. Why would you keep this condo? Or you got renters in here?
No, that actually my sister lives in that condo, so it's all paid off. It was actually
okay. Why doesn't she get her own mortgage? Can she qualify on her own?
What do you mean?
Because what I'm looking to do is just like your primary residence, drain the equity out of this thing.
Oh, I see. Like I said, we're working on it.
So I would say like the low-hanging fruit for you is your primary residence. And then as you need more equity, this is the second, you might tap into this a year from now.
Yeah, I try not to touch that because that's hers. And in case something happens, I don't want her to be left out in the cold. So.
Yeah, here's how I would explain it to her. You go out and get a new mortgage on this. And then I think the mortgage payments might be, about $2,000 a month.
Right.
So you set aside 100 grand or 50 grand, and now she can live off that for 5 years. I mean, surely she can get on her feet in 5 years, right? But in the meantime, you're turning your money more effectively. I think people, they have that false sense of security is what they need. But like I said, you're going to tap the primary residence for equity first. And for now, I would just start having the conversation. It's going to be slower than working with the government on this.
Yeah, that's true.
So just like your construction projects, I'm sure some of your environmental permits are going to take like a year or 2 years. This might be a little faster, but I would start the conversation now. And what I would do is I would have the property in her name, mortgage in her name, and there's a little bit of liability there too. And it's just better to get it out of your holding. Now that's the reason why I asked you guys get along. Because some people got like drug addict sisters or brothers, right?
Yeah, I have some friends that do. So
yeah. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So this is the just regular term life home. So you got some 401k money. Is that still untouched then?
Yeah.
So in terms of risks, like if there is a recession, I don't know what's worse, having the money in your 401k or the equity in your home. I really don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would say this would be another source of equity to start investing, just $400,000. And I have this conversation with almost every other person I have a call with. People, they think this 401k is not getting taxed on, but the argument I always say is like, hey, you're going to get taxed on this 400 grand either now or later. I would rather take it out now, pay the taxes on it now, because in the future, you're going to be paying more tax. Because number one, you're going to be making more money. Unlike how financial experts say you're going to be living on rice and beans when you're old. I want you to be living on caviar and ikura or whatever. And I mean, the country's not going in the right direction. Taxes are going to go up. How else are we going to pay off all this stuff?
Yeah, and we might not have social security system either.
Yeah.
So how can you get this 401k out other than taking out loans?
Yeah, so taking the loan is like your short-term solution. It's kind of how you're using the HELOC, where you equity out a primary residence. And you're still another like 6 months to 18 months from like really, really needing this cash now. I would say, I'm assuming this is with your primary source of income, your construction company, right? So yeah, so you're currently still working with them. What I would do is I would call your HR and ask them, can I do an in-service transaction? And there's kind of a little blurb I wrote on this on my retirement guide at simplepassivecashflow.com/QRP. But you want to basically see if they can do that. From what I hear about informally polling my folks is that 20% of companies will allow you to do an in-service transaction and be able to get the money out of this thing. But it depends how they set up their 401k.
Yeah, I tried asking about that. It seemed like they have strict rules on taking out certain amount.
You might want to ask again and talk to a supervisor, because most times people don't have a freaking clue about this stuff and they've been told this. They need to go in the manual and look this stuff up. It's a long shot. It'll only be like 20% of the time that they can. But if I were you, I know you're not going to do this. I would just quit my job and just be a full-time investor. Take all your passive losses against your active income. I mean, you've got enough net worth to make it happen, but I know you're not going to do that. That's what I would do. And then now I can get at my 400 grand.
No, that's true. That's one way of getting it, the 400 grand.
Yeah, because how old are you now?
61.
Yeah, I know you're probably thinking, well, I just wait to the normal age. But what's the normal age? Most people who are 65, they're sick and they're broke.
Yeah,
Right?
or they're still working.
Yeah.
Seems like it's getting higher as far as the retirement age.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can like even go take a contractor role, right? And just to get at the 400 grand and take a pay cut. Who cares about your income? You get so much money sitting on the sideline.
Yeah,
So you
not
don't
doing
need,
anything.
yeah, you don't need to get up to work every day at this point. Of course, you got to get proof of concept and what you're investing in, right? But I'm just kind of telling you what's possible. And the loans are, you can do that in service transaction or just quit. But work for like the government. I mean, they need people like you. I know we kind of talked before. I mean, you actually kind of enjoy your job. It's not too stressful, so you get that. But I mean, just think about it. If you quit your job, you put this 400 grand in something like AHP. You know, I'm not saying you would put it all in there, right? But that's 40 grand coming at you every year, you know?
Yeah,
Now you can go work half-time and pretty much get the same thing. And I would call HP sort of your bronze level, invest 10% a year. No depreciation on that either, just like the private money lending stuff. I would say like the Roth IRA is your first lever here that you've already paid the taxes on. So all you have to do is pay the penalties on that to get that out. You can take out all the distributions. And I'm just guessing, you know, maybe 30 grand of this is what you deposited in, right?
yeah.
If I were you, I would just take that out tomorrow, the 30 grand. Roth IRAs, 401ks, all don't make any sense in my opinion because you're kind of stuck investing in garbage investments. I know a lot of people try and sell the self-directed IRA, which I'm not a fan of at all. I mean, you can invest in private money lending stuff, but those are pretty bad investments in my opinion because you don't get the deduction.
What about the QRP?
So you can put your 401k, roll it into a QRP, but then again, you don't get any of the deduction.
Oh, I see.
I think the QRP is definitely better than the self-directed IRA because the self-directed IRA, you're going to be getting the UDFI tax and all that stuff on the leverage portion. And pretty much every deal out there that's hitting those nice returns are using leverage to get that. But hey, you know, a lot of people make a lot of money selling self-directed IRAs. So that's why it's out there, right? Just like the 1031 exchange. People make money off doing it. Not to say it's not a bad tool, but all too often that tool is sort of used for most things and it shouldn't be. So yeah, first thing here, I would get the 30 grand of what you put in out tomorrow if you run out of cash. But yeah, you got a lot of slack here, right? I mean, you've got cash all over the place. I think you need deals, right? You need to put your money into
there you go.
Long-term equity deals.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this stuff, you have the conversation with your sister about the condo, but that's still a year off, or two off, I would say. But yeah, I mean, any kind of questions? I mean, I don't know why you're working, man. I would say the only other thing would be, does your spouse work?
No, I'm not married.
Yeah. So maybe you can marry some kind of like real estate agent. Now you can get that real estate professional thing.
Oh, yeah.
Or, but that's another reason why you should just quit your job because then you can get that real estate professional status. Now you can take those passive losses.
Right. Yeah, I have some friends that their spouse is a realtor, and in fact, my daughter's a realtor. So
yeah, there you go. You got an 800 credit score, but that doesn't mean anything. You don't want to buy your own rental properties.
No.
Who cares? I mean, at this point, I don't know if you like to do all that travel hacking, but you can have fun with that stuff if you're bored. You can just get all the credit cards you want and bomb your credit score.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah. Some people find it fun, but yeah, I mean, is there any questions that are next step?
Well, I was thinking of investing in, you're talking about some bonus depreciation deals and getting into those.
Yeah, I would say
syndicated deals.
Yeah, I would say like come around my group. Don't talk to me. Talk to the other people in the deals and see what kind of feedback they have. From my experience in 2018, I think I must have got like a few $100,000 of passive losses. I asked like my lawyer and some of my people in my inner circle is like, so I'm not paying taxes, right, for the next few years. And they're like, nope, negative ghostwriter. You're not paying any taxes. I mean, you're going to pay a sum, right? Just to, you know, keep the auditors off your back, right? But I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, that's how the rich do it, right?
Yeah, that's how the rich do it. And they're just following the tax code, just kind of going out with the outside pitch and just ripping it to right field.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, you got to like build up your passive investor network. Unfortunately, I haven't found too many groups locally where you have people who are even a net worth of or $500,000 or above. I mean, that's the key. You have to find people that are around your net worth which sounds really horrible from an economic or, I mean, just makes me sound like a jerk, but it's all part of a journey and you're trying to find people sort of at your point in the past.
Yeah, just got to keep on looking, I guess.
Yeah.
Find the right group.
You know, one question I always ask my investors is, do you know anybody in your network currently doing private placements or syndications? And it's very polarized. Most people, they have nobody. And this is why they're kind of subjected to these private money lending deals and where you're only getting 8 to 10, 12%. You get none of the upside. You get no depreciation. Or the other guys who, yeah, they have a few people in their network doing it and they're already in a couple dozen deals. It's crazy. It's like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
Get poor, yeah.
But it's not rich in terms of money. It's more rich in terms of network. Like if I always hear about the term, your network is your net worth, which being an engineer, I thought that was kind of BS. But now I think when your net worth goes above $500,000, that becomes so true. You don't really need a network to get from 0 to 500,000. You just got to bust your butt and go to your day job and work hard to get there. But to take that next step, there definitely is a strategy shift. Yeah. I mean, was there any other tax, legal, or infinite banking questions you had or anything under the sun?
Yeah, you know that infinite banking, isn't that kind of like you're setting up your own bank and you're lending? What is the benefits of that?
Yeah, so what you're doing there is it's not really for life insurance. It's just life insurance so that you don't get taxed on the gain. So it's
I see.
Right? But you're able to put it in there. You make like a small return, but it's tax free. And then you borrow from there at a rate, but it's tax deductible because it's a business expense. So there's just a little bit of a delta there, but you can make it into a bank account for yourself where you just sort of store liquidity for yourself. And now it's off the table in terms of liability. It's sheltered from litigation.
But it has tax advantages because you're not really paying tax on it.
Right. But the money's not making anything. So you got to take that money out in terms of taking a loan from yourself to then invest it.
Right. But when you say you invest that money and the profits, does that get taxed or?
Yeah. It
still gets taxed.
It still gets taxed. It might be good for your situation because you have so much slack. If tomorrow you did the right things, you got a loan on your primary and then that condo, and then you pulled out your Roth IRA, you probably have like $400,000 to $600,000 in liquidity. I wouldn't suggest you invest that in syndication all in the first year. I mean, it took me 18 months to kind of meet the people and learn the investment. So I said, you can invest in 50 grand. I'd probably put a cap on you and say, yeah, in the next 6 months to a year, you can't invest more than $100,000. No, you're not allowed to. You're just going to do something stupid or invest with
Right. Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to feel out the syndicated deal and not go overboard and put it all in. So
yeah.
Maybe start out with 50,000 and then see how it goes.
Right. So if you got like $400,000 and you're going to invest 100, now what are we going to do with the other 300, right?
Yeah.
So that's where, all right, this money is not doing anything. We might as well just start priming the pump on your infinite banking. So, I'm just shooting from the hip here. Maybe you put in like 20 grand a year to start on the low side. And then it's usually like a plan where you have to sign up to do it for 5 or 6 years.
Right.
So that would sort of allocate 120 grand over the next 5 years of that liquidity. And, what's nice about it is you can layer another policy on top of it and increase it as you kind of get the hang of it. Because what will likely happen is you put in 20 and then you might backdate it 6 months so you can put another 20 all in a couple of days. So you're up to 40 grand. And then next year you put another 20 and you kind of use it, right? You're using it for liquidity events. And you're like, oh, I like this. So I might layer another $10,000 policy on top of that.
What's the normal percentage that comes out of your investment for the insurance portion?
So it's a step down thing. So in the beginning, you're typically doing maybe 30, 35% in terms of fees. By the time year 3 comes around, it goes down to maybe about 10%. And
I see. So the more you put in
No, it's not the more you put in. It's just like on the timeline because it's usually 5 or 6 years is how much you have to commit to putting incremental payments in. So if you think about it in terms of a graph, like it's a step down thing. It like goes down as time. The fee percentage. In the beginning, it's 35%, 30% of what you put in, and then it steps down to 10% of what you put in year 3, and then by the
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I think based on your age, that 35% should be pretty much the ballpark.
That's kind of like the surrender years. The longer you participate, then the amount of return is more.
Right, right. And for your situation, where your net worth is and based and how much slack you have, might be a good idea to just do something where you're like 25 grand a year
Mm.
and you just get that rolling. You probably could go up to 50 grand a year if you wanted to. But, so for the guy listening on this on the YouTube channel or on the podcast, like if you got under $500,000, this is not for you, right? This is more for people with higher net worth because of that 30% of the fees go away to the life insurance.
Right.
It's a great way to make fees for these guys. For those people, you need every dollar to go to a down payment for a rental property. You just can't afford that. And you got to deploy all the troops to go make money for you. You can't kind of batten down the hatches like how you're doing here. The way I do it is I would recommend the logic I would use is, all right, you're going to create some kind of a deployment schedule in the next 1 to 5 years, right? So maybe this next 6 months, you just don't do any, but 6 months to 18 months, you're going to deploy 100 grand in a couple of deals. And then after that, you're going to go in a deal every 6 months or something like that, just to be conservative. All right. And then, you kind of put that on a spreadsheet on a timeline, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you also overlay on top of that, hey, 25 grand is going to go out this year for my life insurance. Then 25 is going to go out next year for life insurance. And then just kind of play around with your liquidity and make a plan that way. As much as I joke around that, you probably should quit your job, I know you're not going to do that. You're not going to see the feedback for another couple of years.
That's what I wanted to do, is see how it works out. And then if it does, and yeah, maybe I will quit my job.
But you're going to have to see for it yourself. I mean, not all the deals go well, but hey, you got the depreciation and
nothing is guaranteed investment. So
yeah, but you go in, at least going into the deal where it's cash flowing day one ain't a bad way of doing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, can't be that.
Was there anything else you wanted to chat about?
No,
you're in good shape here. I mean, maybe we check in a couple of years. I'm sure you'd be starting to think about when that retirement day when you're going to pull the pin.
Yeah, hopefully it's sooner than later.
But I think that's the main thing mindset wise. I mean, I'm just looking at this numbers here, and if it were me, I'd deploy 200 grand of it in the next 6 to 12 months. And I'm pretty sure you could retire on that. But let's go with the real life conservative plan of attack here. And I'm thinking maybe in the next couple of years, you're going to start to see these deals that you go into start to pan out, get stabilized, the cash flow, and then start to figure out when the last day is. And then, I would say in the next year, you're gonna start to see a little signs of this. And maybe you can even start like, what am I going to do after I retire?
You gotta pick up a hobby or something.
Yeah, maybe flip some houses or something.
Yeah, there you go. Just for fun, huh?
Yeah, just for fun, right? But you probably won't want to do that. That's a JOB.
Yeah.
That's a more competitive JOB.
Oh, that's why it got funny. I wasn't doing the deals because
these guys are just tearing each other apart.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of communication with your contractor, your realtor, your investors.
I love these house flippers. They pay all my taxes for the state and the federal for me.
Yeah, they do.
God bless them. Yeah. God bless America.
There you go.
All right, Lee. Talk to you next time.
Great. Thanks, Lane.